Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. We have just a half of a second left. I think we have everyone checked in. I like to start promptly at 9. Beautiful day here in Arizona. We actually are in our monsoon season. It rained horribly last Friday after all about 5 o'clock here, 8 o'clock for you guys. We had a hailstorm and it was 107 degrees. And so my daughter ran out in the rain with a bowl and was collecting these big old balls of ice. And it's 108, 107 degrees. Good morning, Professor Jennifer Harrison-Hauer. This is your week 4. We're going to cover a few things today. I'm just going to get right into it. Go ahead and pull out your case study information too, but we'll have that for later. Let me check to see. Okay, I'm looking at some chats. Okay, I'm just gonna get right into sharing my screen and get into things really early here. Week 3 covered chapter 24, 25, and 26, and I know you guys have seen the recordings. What I like about the week 3, it really starts to introduce you to your vulnerable population, okay? Your vulnerable population, you may think elderly, children, but then when you read your chapters, you realize a vulnerable population could be your homeless individuals, rural communities, what have you, not just your children or your elderly folks, socially economic, underserved, with a lack of access to health care, underinsured, racial, ethnic groups can be a part of the vulnerable population. So then when you're looking at your rural health care and being a nurse in a rural community, what are some pros? If you were a rural health nurse, what would be a benefit? What would be a pro to working in rural health? Ashley, Blair, Cunningham, I'll let you get us started, dear.
Maybe because in most rural areas people know other people, so that would kind of help. Like if you were new in town, that people could, you would have word of mouth about care.
Right. And also too, like if the communities are rural environments, they're diverse, okay, and they're different from your urban counterparts. The chapter really talks about that they're close-knit. So you really get an opportunity to be a part of the community. You know your patients, you there's only a few of them. So you know the patients, you know the families, you know the local community, you get to know them. And so what would be a disadvantage? If you were a public health nurse out in the rural area, what would be a disadvantage? Geeta.
There will be fewer healthcare options like little or no insurance.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing so I don't know what I haven't done. There's probably a couple of things I haven't done, but not only was I a rural health nurse, but I was a rural public health nurse on a rural reservation in Arizona. It's the second largest Native American tribe in the United States. And so I can speak from personal experience. Burnout, it happens. It happens to anybody in nursing. But when you're burnt out because you're short-staffed, which is, I know all of these things are like, okay, so that's everywhere. But from a rural health nurse perspective, when you're always, first of all, you have to drive it would take me to some of my clinics. An hour from my house would be a short drive, and 2.5 hours would be the furthest. It borders to Mexico. So burnout, limited resources, sometimes that, there's trainings that we have to do, we had to skip because there's no one available. So burnout is huge. So then when you're looking at some things, I just want to just hone in when we're doing this critical thinking component of our class today, and we're going to get into some other stuff. These are some things that I really think you should really make sure that you understand as far as the chapters are concerned. So the health status of rural population, it varies. It depends on social, environmental, economic, politics sometimes plays a role. The availability of, we talked about healthcare professionals to get folks, especially specialists. That's why when I did become a women's health nurse practitioner, I was the OB-GYN go-to. So the ER would call me when they had somebody with bleeding, different things. Hang on just a second. Something came across my screen. So keep that in mind. Availability of healthcare professionals, especially specialists. It's it's hard to get folks to drive out 2.5 hours from the main hospital. There's an increase in working poor in rural areas. I remember reading that in your chapters. It's higher than in most populated areas because, you have more options in the city versus in rural communities. You see poor health because the rural folks tend to see the doctor less than in urban. This is all from your chapter, and they tend to live below the poverty line. So those are things to think about when you're thinking about rural health care. And then I want to just get into so what would be, with that in mind, what are some, and these are questions I just took from your chapter. So I just want to make sure we get an understanding. What are some of the health concerns for women and children in rural areas? I'm going to go to, is Emily with me? I'm just randomly looking at names on my sheet.
I would say transportation.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Specifically for women and children, what would you think? So transportation is good. I'll definitely take that. Ashley.
I think for mental health, I know there's a stigma in rural health. They don't like to reach out for mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But also too, that sometimes these children, because I know my dad, my mom's I'm from, I call it the Bible Belt of Florida. I can say that. My mom was from Florida. My dad lived in Georgia. And so we're from Tallahassee. And so a lot of the children, he didn't go to school because he had to work the farms. So sometimes children are not going to healthcare or schools because they're working on the farm. And so therefore they're going to be exposed to things. So that's something you want to keep in mind. And then women as well. As women in this class, we know we have special needs. And so again, if you're trying to look for specialty care for things that you need and care for your family, it could be challenging. So then you want to think of, everything you guys said is correct, but then you want to think of the fact that they are oftentimes on the farm. So then their personal protective equipment, injuries, and all of that. My dad let me drive the tractor, and I don't think I was knee high. So, and thought it was fun and enjoyed it, and I was fine, but what if I wasn't? So those types of things. And then again, for women, just again, we, gynecology, obstetrics, and all of that, it's lacking. So therefore we got to make time to take care of the kids, take care of the husband, take care of this, that, and the other. And especially if we're pregnant and we're high risk, let's just say, I know it's a lot of ifs. Got to drive your pregnant self into 2 hours into the major hospital to see about your this, that, and the other. So then barriers. The chapter listed like a whole big old list of stuff as far as barriers are concerned. Let me get one barrier from Micah.
I would say possibly education level, or
I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. Let me give you a hint. Box 24.4 lists like 12,000 different things as far as barriers and biggest concerns. Let me go to
what? Can you repeat that? What
box
box?
24.4.
Okay, thank you.
It's where you can find all of this lovely stuff that I would know. And so, Miss Huff, give me another one. Are you with me, Miss Huff?
Yes, sorry. Like the lack of telephone service that came straight from the
Yes,
box.
lack of telephone service. Yeah, you must be looking at your book.
Yep.
You're smart. I like that. Pull out your book when we're doing this. Everything here, I am not making it up. So lack of healthcare providers and services, lack of personal transportation, unavailable public transportation. Oh, Lord Jesus, I clicked the wrong thing. Lack of telephone services, unavailable outreach services, and inequitable reimbursements. People want to get paid, these providers, and we have lost people because of stuff. They're not getting reimbursed properly. They want to get money. Unpredictable weather or travel, monsoon season. We have these I can't think of the word. Don't help me. What do they call it? Washes. It looks like a big old sand dune. And you're like, this is gonna flood? It's huge. I have seen it, and people would think they can drive their cars through it.
I used to live in Arizona, and
Where, Micah?
in Tucson.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just now telling me this. You're kidding. I'm in Tucson. Where in Tucson? Why?
I was like right by the university.
Yeah, that's where I live.
Right off of Speedway.
The world. I am Speedway. I'm by TMC. I am by TMC. So he knows all of this. And so
I used to live there too.
Who else?
Yeah, I lived in Sierra Vista.
Thank you for your service. Were you military?
No, but
that's a good
I was
guess.
military, but not there at Fort Huachuca.
Yeah, thank you for your service. So you guys get it. So my daughter's out with this bowl collecting hail in 108 degrees. We lost power for 12 hours. It looked, I've been here 15 years and I'm like, oh, monsoon. But the concept, I think too much. The concept of hail in 108, I'm like, but why is it ice? It should be melted when it comes down. So anyway, we didn't have power. And so my daughter is like, so Mom, this is what it was like for you growing up poor. I'm like, girl, sit down. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just a little heat. Language barriers and what have you. So then it gets into, they talk about migrant care. And then those in Tucson, there's migrants in Florida. So I lived in 2 states to where I'm familiar with migrant workers. So migrant workers, they're laborers who they travel to different places. When I was up in Washington State doing some work for the government, we had folks that were picking the apples. I'm like, oh, somebody's got to pick these apples. So they're traveling from place to place. They're exposed to pesticides and different things and what have you. They estimated there's over 1 million migrant workers in the United States. They are considered, remember your week 3 is all about vulnerable people. They're vulnerable because of the simple lifestyle they're living, their exposures that they are in. Think about it, slow it down. When the season is over, they are homeless. I don't think they stay on the farm if there's nothing to farm. And so I got a video for you. gonna share it with you right now.
Finally, farm
Ashley,
workers face-
can you see the video? Ashley Blair? She's my go-to. Can you guys see the video?
No.
You cannot? I knew this was gonna happen. Don't give up on me. Let me figure out what button I need to click. Don't, I'm gonna figure it out. Don't give up. You share. Can you see it now? No. Now?
Yep, now I see.
Finally, farm workers face major challenges accessing health care. But a group in southeastern Arizona has a unique solution that appears to be working. From the Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University, Annika Abbott reports.
Bend, pluck, place, repeat. For hours a day, workers at Nature Sweet Farms in southeast Arizona pick tomatoes. It's work that requires strength, skill, and good health. Public health expert Jill Guernsey-Desapian says farm work often causes muscle and back issues.
Everything for harvesting crops, for packaging them, et cetera, and stuff, it is built to make it happen fast. It's not built to protect the body of the workers.
The National Center for Farm Worker Health says the top 3 things farm workers suffer from are obesity, hypertension, and diabetes. Workers like Dylan Valenzuela do what they can to get ready for the day.
When we enter, first we have to exercise, stretch out, then we put all the protective clothes on for the greenhouse.
Even though they prepare for the work, some farm workers struggle to maintain their own health.
400 people work in this tomato plant. The majority of them work here in the greenhouses, and almost 95% of them speak Spanish primarily.
Language is one barrier to healthcare. Access is another, says Gail Emmerich, Executive Director of the Southeast Arizona Area Health Education Center, or CHEC.
Particularly precarious with farm workers is the type of labor they're involved in, if it's shift work versus ongoing or formal employment. And so some people might have health insurance and health coverage and others may not.
The National Center for Farm Worker Health says almost 53% of farm workers across the country are uninsured. Even some with health insurance have limited access. The ratio of people to doctors in rural areas is 2,500 to 1.
So it's not saying necessarily that we don't have enough health professionals. It's saying that they're not distributed well throughout the country.
Here in Winchester Heights, an unincorporated Latino neighborhood just 10 minutes from the farm, there are no doctors. The closest town with a medical facility is 20 minutes away. Enter the Southeast Arizona Area Health Education Center, whose goal is to help residents in rural areas gain access to health care. In Winchester Heights, they helped build a community center where public health interns train resident volunteers, known as promotoras de salud. After receiving training, healthcare workers like Aida Dominguez go door to door in Winchester Heights to teach their neighbors about better health, like nutrition and sun protection.
Y entonces ella dijo, estoy agradecida porque.
And then she told me, I am so grateful because I didn't know, but now I know that you have to wear a hat.
Latino farm workers say the community center and health workers have made an impact on their health. Having promotoras who speak their own language and come from their own community make a difference.
Es importante para tener como un ambiente social.
It's important to have a social environment and also to be able to help the children, the youth, the adults, the elders, so we will be united.
Along with healthcare, the health education group is now also teaching residents how to run their own nonprofit. They plan to turn the community center over to the people in Winchester Heights next year. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Annika Abbott with Cronkite News in Winchester Heights, Arizona.
All right, you guys. Now we get an idea of what our migrant workers have to go through. And so the things that that's important to remember are musculoskeletal conditions and issues from repetitive movement of the spine. So prevention would look like, I'll go ahead and do this one because I want to make sure we cover everything. Prevention would look like, number one, so primary prevention would be, I would teach workers how to reduce exposure to pesticides. So a lot of education. And you would think for folks that live in Florida, in Arizona, it's hot, wear a hat and sunscreen. My parents never taught me about sunscreen. It's like Black people don't wear sunscreen. Yes, we do. I just didn't know. I didn't think I started wearing sunscreen until I was like in my 30s. Secondary prevention is to conduct screenings. You could do urine tests for pesticide exposures, but think screening. So you think you may be looking for something, especially if someone's, says there's been an exposure. So teaching, always keep it your P's, primary teaching, education. Then you can I'm doing this in the concept of pesticide exposure. You can do a screening with the doctor's order. You can screen for stuff. And then tertiary would be initiating treatment for the symptoms of pesticide exposure, such as nausea, vomiting, and skin irritation. So those are things to keep in mind. So then, still talking about vulnerable folks, let's move on to homelessness. This one, I don't think there's a community in the United States that doesn't have a homeless camp or what have you. So then when you're thinking about homelessness and their health, okay, what comes to mind? Let me go to Jessica Labrie.
I think a lot, they're not getting preventative type care if they're
Exactly.
homeless.
They're not getting preventative care. Who wants that? That's good enough. Is Ruby Sace with me? Ruby Sace? Do we have a Ruby Sace? Ruby? No Ruby? Ruby? I can look through all these names. Is Ruby with us today? Going once? Going twice? Gregory? Mercer? What comes to mind?
Just access, the limited access to healthcare because of their situation.
Yeah, exactly. They also have higher rates of chronic illnesses because they're not doing their prevention screenings. Shorter life expectancy, unfortunately, more complex health conditions because of that lack of access. All of those things, when you see someone homeless, think of that. And if you're a public health nurse, if you work with your homeless clients, you know that you're seeing more asthma, more chronic conditions because of that, like you said, that lack of access. So those are things to just keep in mind as well. I wanted to also show a little bit of love for our pregnant teens that are considered vulnerable. Who wants to, I can look at my list, but who wants to talk to me about why they think pregnant teens especially are vulnerable?
Well, a lot of the times they kind of don't have like they're not fully grown and developed with their hormones and everything.
They're still growing. They're still growing themselves. And that's a special love of mine and subspecialty. They're dealing, first of all, they're still growing. Second of all, their diets are, I know my daughter is like taki. And she goes to the corner store at school and buys it because I don't buy them. Their lifestyle, their nutritional habits, they're trying to, maybe concern for weight gain is also an issue. What are they eating? Are they getting their prenatal care? All of that. And so one of the programs that's really wonderful, and it have it all over the United States, this nurse family partnership. They're paired with a nurse for 2 years. It's completely free. They have them in most major cities. I know we have an arm here in Tucson. It's something that different, I think it's housed underneath Casa de los Niños. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't cost them a dime. They're paired with a nurse from 2 years from pregnancy and a couple years after delivery to help teach them more education, more prevention, getting them things that they need. So that they can have only for first-time moms. And it's not just for teen moms. You can be a first-time mom at 30 something if you, I think it's income qualified. So let me share this with you guys.
Professor, I don't know if it matters to you, but we can like see your notes on the right side of your slides.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. But I appreciate it. Can you guys see the video? All right, so I got to figure out how to do this again. Patience is a virtue. All right, Miss Bhutan, can you see it now? Yay. And who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? It's 5 minutes.
And I'm here by myself. I wasn't headed in the right direction. I should have been in a better place.
There have been some situations where family has completely rejected this new mom, and they really just kind of living moment to moment, trying to figure out how to get through things.
Me and my mom's relationship had just died. I guess she was mad at me. She was disappointed. Me and my dad didn't talk. I felt like they hated me. I felt like they just thought I was a big mistake or something.
But like that's where the fear came in, and just understanding that it's not just only me now. There's someone else now. Sometimes you may go into a client's home and they may not have running water. They may not have electricity, clothes, food. That's pretty common not to have food. I mean, sometimes they're homeless. Have to find them a shelter, somewhere to live. You just kind of wonder sometimes, how can they even make it?
With the Nurse Family Partnership, we go out every week or every 2 weeks. And so like when she was pregnant, I gave her all sorts of information about being pregnant and gave her resources that she could turn to for food, clothing, but personal support too. She called me often, with just little questions about life. And she would use me as support for life.
Reese came along, she told me, she was like, you have a lot of things. She was like, you can qualify for this, and you can qualify for that. She like, why don't you try this? It's like, there's a lot of things out there. So I didn't know there was like free childcare. You can qualify for free childcare. I didn't know that. My parents didn't tell me that.
Miss Vicky was my support. Miss Vicky was there the entire time. Miss Vicky was there during my pregnancy. She came to the hospital after I gave birth. If I needed anything from Miss Vicky, she would come. I can say Miss Vicky was a rock to me when I couldn't be a rock for myself. Without Miss Vicky, I would be a very lost person.
Ever since she started coming, I always look forward to seeing her. She's like my new best friend, and I think she brought all of us together, not just me, the baby. She's a great and amazing person. She's helped me a lot through this whole experience.
Hospital nurses, you don't really develop that one-on-one relationship with the patient because they're there to get their treatment for a few hours or a day or whatever, and then they're gone. Whereas this program, working in the community, is long-term. It's like you really truly get the bond with the family and the client and the baby you feel like you're part of their family. I've had a lot of clients already tell me that
It's okay.
we'll continue to be friends and keep in touch after graduate. We've had a special bond from the beginning. I never thought I was just a client to this day. She's more like a family member than she is a nurse.
I'm always on their side from the beginning. I'm in their corner, on their side. Regardless, I want them to succeed.
I'll describe it as not just as like a nurse and a client, but more like a mentor to a friend, a mentor and a friend. I was amazed with what she was doing, so I kind of wanted to follow that. I want to be able to speak to someone someday and tell them different things that they can use in life, and you know how to feel at certain times when things can get a little tough. Like, it's okay, you know.
So I think they see that we really care, because we do. You know, we do this because we really care.
This program gives the opportunity to really step into people's lives and make a difference in a really fundamental way.
It teaches a lot of first-time moms what being a mom is all about.
Nurse-family partnership. It's like something out of the future. It really is. I think it's before its time. I know it is. This program is like a bridge to me between teen pregnancy or early pregnancy and self-sufficiency.
You actually get to go into the stranger's home and build this relationship that's going to change not only their life, but their child's life and their child's life and that child's life. It goes on and on.
There's family partnership. You can't do it all by yourself. All righty. Let me find out where I'm at. This is where I am. Okay, now let's get into Medicare and Medicaid. This is heavy, but again, I just make sure you guys get a solid understanding. Who wants to voluntarily tell me about Medicare and Medicaid? Or I can look at my sheet.
Medicare is for individuals 65 and older and have a health dependency. And Medicaid is for our income-based individuals.
Okay, Nurse Sims, let me just move on to my next slide then. Thank you, sir. Actually, yes, that's okay. That's it. Check. Some smart people. I'm just kidding. All right, excellent. Now that's it. And if you don't understand that, just go into it. He did it in a synopsis. It can get real fancy, but if you see that on exams, and I think for me, I got to kind of think like, okay, what can I do with these words? Medicare, care for those that are older. I'll just say that 65 and older. Medicaid, I think of a Band-Aid sort of thing, whatever works for you. So then let's move into, excellent, thank you. Let's move into your parish nurses. So your parish nurses started out in Christianity in these large churches and what have you. The clergymen realized that they needed a nurse for their congregation and the surrounding communities when they do outreach and what have you. So I'm going to go ahead and just I have my notes here, is that you're always going to use your med surg skills. Let me just say that. Even if you're doing hospice and someone has a decubitus, you're going to put whatever they're doing now, like what they're doing now, not Duoderm. They're going to put something on it. You're always going to use your med-surg skills, and then mom and baby as well, as far as education and teaching and helping them to latch on. So you're always going to, wherever you are, if you are a school nurse or a parish nurse, med-surg doesn't leave you. You're just not in the hospital, and that's not your primary focus. So just keep that in mind as well. And I know I'm showing you guys a lot of videos, but I am a visual person. So I can, like, when I talk about especially vulnerable population, to actually see it and work, I think is amazing. And we're almost, once we're done with our slides, I just want to jump into some a case study as well. But I can definitely tell you, in my little rural town, we did not have a nurse of our 50 people in the congregation. But just keep that in mind. They are considered specialty nurses as well. Your school nurse, your hospice nurse, any of those, that they all work in the community. So that and their community is the congregation and usually that surrounding neighborhood as well. So just keep that in mind. And I already know y'all can't see it, right? Right. Okay. I'm learning. Mr. Sims, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
All righty then.
Sharon Clohesi's world was turned upside down by one phone call when she discovered she had both a hole in her heart and breast cancer. Unemployed and uninsured, James Dobson's high blood pressure was life-threatening. Shortly after Karen Houston's husband suffered a nearly fatal brain aneurysm, her daughter was diagnosed with diabetes. Unable to sustain her oxygen levels, Lily Giacchetti spent more than 1 month in the hospital. Though these people were dealing with devastating illnesses, they did share one advantage. They each turned to their parish nurse for support. Across the country, parish nurses practicing the specialty of faith community nursing are improving public health by reclaiming the historic roots of health and healing.
This is your bubbler. How often do you change the water?
I have to change it every day. When Mrs. Lily Giacchetti was hospitalized for nearly a month, parish nurse Ramona Davis made daily visits. My illness was really serious, and everybody knew it.
I visited with her. I followed up and explained a lot of tests that she was required to get that she really didn't understand. When she was ready to be discharged, I made sure she had her equipment. She had visiting nursing. She had her oxygen set up. 128/70. That is really good. You are doing such a wonderful job. Yeah, I'm trying.
There are a lot of churches in our neighborhood, but there's only one parish nurse. And people will come in, they'll leave other churches and stop by to see Ramona.
I wonder how in the world I could have done ministry without a parish nurse.
So I'm gonna give everybody a handout.
Ramona's duties range from assisting the critically ill to supporting church activities and promoting wellness.
I do a lot of health teaching with the kids from the school and the confirmation kids at the church. So we're gonna look at it from a religious standpoint. We currently have a gospel aerobics class, which is intergenerational. We get to interact with people on an everyday basis. If there's a change, you notice it.
How was your blood pressure the other day? Okay.
It was 135 over 80.
Oh, goodness. We have these long relationships with people. Okay, take a deep breath. I've known some of the people that I care for now a good part of my life because this church is where I was raised.
These long relationships enable parish nurses to treat the body, mind, and spirit. When Karen Houston discovered her husband had a brain aneurysm and her daughter was a diabetic, she questioned her faith and her ability to cope.
I thought I was going to pass out. You know, I think I had to have someplace to sit down. I probably would have had a nervous breakdown without Michelle.
Nurses do have one step in the sciences and one step in the humanities. And I think parish nurses also have that other step in the spiritual through this holy anointing. May God's love.
We're Christians, and so, you know, to have someone who I could relate to on that level and could offer that support and prayer and that kind of thing, just help me get through a very difficult time.
I firmly believe that the spiritual side of health is a very important aspect for people at any time, even when they're seemingly healthy. Parish nursing is in a position to really bridge and look at both the physical health and spiritual health of people in the community.
In communities with few resources, parish nursing is a critical lifeline. Joe Kojawinski connects people to the resources they need to regain their health.
The needs here are really overwhelming. I often think of this parish nurse ministry as being, if you think of it in terms of hospital nursing, that this is the intensive care unit here. You know, if you see someone with a terribly high blood pressure, you think, oh, that must be the problem. Well, it is the problem, but that person may really want a pair of clean pants. Okay, here's the
Oh, thank you.
James Dobson hadn't been to the doctor in years. He was shocked to discover he had high blood pressure, and he was reluctant to take the medication because he feared the side effects.
As time went on, his blood pressure was literally going up and up and up.
It's instilled in my mind to, like take the medication every day. So when some days I forget, and then like an image of Joe jumps up and hey, back upstairs, I go to get my medication.
We averted a stroke for him because his blood pressure was quite high. It's surprising sometimes how much sodium is in canned goods.
So with our parish nurses, we have an opportunity to act on those illness prevention opportunities and prevent individuals from being seen in the emergency room or having to be admitted to the hospital. So it's a wonderful way of promoting health and containing healthcare costs and also fulfilling our faith-based calling.
You're happy and you know it, but all right, let's see who can do our floor here.
Parish nurses are involved with community activities that range from preschool classes to women's support groups.
The movements are scripture and meditation and then sharing.
Parish nurse Deb Stankiewicz first met Sharon Kohesi 10 years ago when her children attended Deb's health education classes. The long-standing relationship between Deb Stankiewicz and Sharon's family proved itself indispensable when tragedy struck.
Found out that I had a hole in my heart and breast cancer through one phone call from my doctor. I had 3 surgeries in 1 month.
Parish nurses empower people to get the information they need to make informed decisions about their health.
And when I knew she was going for the appointments,
Paul, keeping in touch and often, if you would like, I'll be happy to be with you in those appointments to be a second set of ears because you are absorbing a lot of information at one time. Like, family history might be a piece of business that she should consider because she does have her mom and an aunt.
Deb's such a wealth of information. And to have her along at the visit, she could ask questions that didn't ever occur to me to ask.
I do think to have a nurse in the church that can help you to sort things out is a great resource. Our earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread.
As America ages and healthcare costs spiral, parish nurses are becoming an increasingly valuable resource to communities and congregations across America.
When we surveyed our congregation before we embarked on the $3 million capital campaign, the thing that our parishioners told us was most important to them was the parish nurse. I think all churches should have parish nurses.
Well, we couldn't afford a parish nurse, so so that's that, you guys. To summarize, a nurse in the church. That's what I wrote down. It's a nurse in the church. But again, that's her community. And so there you go. All right. Okay, my little buttons here. Let's go into home health and hospice. How are they, my non-LPNs? Let me see. How is home health and hospice similar? Miss Singleton. Your stuff.
So home health nurses, they go to the home and they provide the care that is needed for the resident. And the hospice nurses kind of do the same thing, keeping in mind it's like one resident in like the home and or community that they would be taking care of. And the only difference between them is that hospice nurses do like more like death care.
Let's say end of life.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying
okay.
it.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. That'll definitely work. They both go out into their homes. All right. Usually with the home health, they all have orders. They're similar. You have to have orders. Hospice is end of life care. So usually like it's a terminal condition within. Back home when I was a hospice nurse in Florida was a year. So there's a terminal condition. I've known folks to be discharged out of hospice as well. I want to get into nitpicky, but they will go out to the home. Yes. Home health is more centered on med surg recovery, knee replacement, that sort of thing. You're in and out for a certain period of time. Involves a lot of your med surg skills as well. And then your hospice is your end of life care. So that's a good start with that. So you guys pull out your homelessness case study. I'm going to put you into breakout groups for about 20 minutes, random groups. Let me see. I'm still sharing. Stop sharing. All right. All righty. I'll put you out in your groups. Please work together. And I will see you back. I'll have it set to you where you can return in 20 minutes. Let me put you in these groups. Randomly picking names. Everybody work together. I need your topic, por favor. I've only heard from a few lovely people.
I do have a question about that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Some of these
So like the groups, I know I got an email from somebody, like, is it the same groups we had for our last project, or?
You'll stay in your groups forever. So there's only a couple of different things. Yes, yes. So you guys should be communicating. Some groups have two. Some folks are not with us anymore. It is what it is. So it's not unusual to have two people in your group. Maybe that's, I don't know, easier. I've seen amazing things from two people. I take that all into consideration, but I'm digressing. You guys should be communicating. I have received emails or contacts from folks. Somebody's not responding to me and all this stuff. We're going to be RN soon, so please communicate with each other early. But I need your topics. And I think because of how I shared this, it looks like there's 23 people in the class and there's not. So I'm hoping that everyone has a group. All right, let's see how this works out. Bye. I'll see you back in 20 minutes. It's on to group 1.
So I got kicked out of the Zoom whenever we went into the break rooms. My case
Mhm.
study is already done.
It's fine. I'm not gonna throw you back, guys. There's a couple of people that are not back in their rooms, due to whatever reason. You're not the only one, but we'll not worry about it because I'm about to take them out. So just hang tight.
Okay.
They're wrapping up stuff, and yeah, it's fine.
And do you want us to email these to you, or are we just going over them in class?
We're just gonna go over them in class. Sometimes I do ask for them, but not this one. I think we'll be good. We're gonna go over some things, so hang tight. This is not anything that you're gonna see on any exam. This is a case study that I pulled. So this is a great test of some concepts that I just want to make sure you guys understand. So no, well, once we go through it in class, we should be good.
Okay.
I'm bringing everybody back now. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. See if everyone's back in with us. Yes, looks like everyone is well, some folks are still talking. We'll give them a few more seconds here. There we go. Got it.
I was unmuted.
Oh, it's okay. Everyone, you can just mute yourselves. What I'm gonna do, I'm waiting for folks to join us here. Just make sure we have everyone back. Okay, I think we're all back. Okay, all right, you guys. I know we work together in groups, so I'm gonna call on folks individually that I haven't heard from. So Lashana, Haley, Tenny, Tyhana, Cian Jones, Shaka, Anisha, Cassidy, Ruby, Durga, Twana. I need to hear from you and I will call on you. So just be prepared. Everybody else, just be beautiful. Forewarned is forearmed. So, Lashana, so we have this task force that's getting together here, working on a shelter for women and children's. So read question 1 and give me your answer for your group, please.
Okay. What common health problems should Nurse Shay and the task force be aware of when planning health services to be provided at the new shelter?
Mm-hmm.
It said that for one, it is going to be vaccinations.
Stop. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get back to you. And then Haley, add on to that. Vaccinations.
We said diabetes or like obesity, or even just malnutrition.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. Tenny, what you want to add to it?
My group said like TB due to crowded living conditions.
Yes. So the answer is common health problems in the homeless population. We talked about some things, but psychosocial, depressive symptoms, mental, psychiatric illnesses, alcohol, substance abuse, infectious illnesses, so the TB. Y'all got a case, don't y'all have something with infectious disease? HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and other infectious diseases, and other illnesses such as trauma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, musculoskeletal, foot problems, malnutrition, preterm low birth weight. I know it's a lot. Decreased access to care and increased emergency department utilization rates. Okay, very good. So for number 2, Miss Jones, if you can read that for me. Oh, let me get this out of your way. Hey, hang on, I want you to see that. Okay. Miss Jones? Caramba. All right. Miss Jones. Is Cian with us? Wasn't she in someone's group? Was she in anyone's group? Nobody want to talk to me? I saw her in the.
It's Sean. I don't think I saw Sean. Just this.
There wasn't a Jones in anybody's group? Cian?
No, she wasn't in
Oh.
ours.
It's Sean.
Is Shauna?
Her name is Sean.
Sean, that's how you say it?
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And you're the only one correcting me. Was Sean in your group, Daryl? No, you just correcting the name. All right, moving on. All right.
I don't see her here.
Oh, I don't know why she showed up in my, okay, whatever. Need to get my eyes checked. Shaka, number 2.
What effects of poverty on the health of children should Nurse Shay and the task force be aware of when planning appropriate services? We have lack of
thing. Don't give me all the answer. Just give me a little answer.
Okay. Lack of nutrition.
Okay, I will take that, and that is certainly an answer. And then Anisha, can you add to it, Miss O'Dowdy?
Yes. Higher rate of prematurity, increase in growth, restriction, and developmental.
She gave me the whole answer, not even a part answer. Yes. So then children in poverty experience high rates, preterm birth, low birth weight, birth defects, higher infant
malnutrition
rates, malnutrition, growth retardation, developmental. It just sounds so sad. Iron deficiency, anemia, elevated lead. Yes, yes, yes. All righty. And then we're going to wrap it up with number 3. Let me please start off with Miss Cassidy Paul. Read number 3 for me. And just to let you know, Nurse George, it was going to be Nurse Georgia because I was going to be repping Georgia. Then I changed to Shay because that's my middle name, LaShay, in case you care. So then I didn't correct that, but it's still Nurse Shay. Go ahead.
After the shelter opens, Nurse Shay becomes one of the nurses who works in the clinic. What strategies are important for Nurse Shay to implement while working with this population? So we had talked about after it opened, she is going to have to monitor for mental health.
Yes, yes. I'll take definitely. She wants to definitely monitor for mental health. What about, all right, is Ruby here? I could have swore I saw her in the breakout group.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here.
what you want to say to me?
Provide support to caregivers, provide health promotional activities.
So providing support is what you're saying and promoting health?
Health givers and promote.
Okay. Durga?
We said to provide an education since everyone will be in the shelter now, so that we can give education.
Okay, education is always important. And yes, Tawana, right? What you want to add to that?
We said just basically ensuring that all their basic needs are met, such as, how to obtain, clothing for their children or, proper education, for their children that are living in shelters.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So one of the things she's going to want to do, first of all, is that she wants to create a trusting environment. These are vulnerable individual women and children in a shelter, and there's this strange person. So anytime you're going out, I would say, again, it's still anything you do in the community health nursing, shelters, schools, you're oftentimes, especially if you're working with a vulnerable population, there's this trust aspect, so you want to show respect, compassion, and concern. And it also talks about not making assumptions, coordinate a network of services and providers to help. Building a village is what I like to call it, like with the nurse family partnership I was talking about. Everything you guys said is absolutely correct. But realizing that the women and children are vulnerable in this shelter too, get them the healthcare services that they need, prevention wise as well. And then encourage them to build and support with each other. And everything else, you guys, I just added in just the tidbits there. And so dun, 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 dun. This concludes. Oh, Miss Henny, you got your hands raised? Yes, ma'am. I see your hand.
Just real quick, something that I thought that was real important was on page 460, and it was saying, talking about the self-awareness is a key component of providing authentic, genuine, client-centered care. They want you to clarify your own values and perspectives about poverty, and so you can assure that you can help the people that are living in poverty. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then the thing is, I've always can tell when folks are being genuine with me, like a doctor or provider or anyone there, and your facial expressions not being judgmental, all of that is everything you said. All of that is important, and then you got to just know yourself. For me, I grew up in poverty, so I'm not saying like what have you, but if I can start from the bottom, now I'm here. And so being authentic and true, and folks can feed off that, especially like, again, with them being in a vulnerable situation, their house is that shelter. And then they have the kids and all of that. You have to come in knowing, in nursing period, knowing knowing your own values, knowing what you're sensitive to, like domestic violence is an issue. I tend to be a little bit sensitive with that, and child abuse and what have you. So I remember when I was doing a little bit of correctionals and what people are in there for, and they're still your clients, and you're like, so yes, that is absolutely correct. And you guys, this is our class for week 4. I was mentioning to a student earlier, I consider week 4 to be one of your lighter weeks. If you look at the grand scheme of things, like the only thing you have to do is this CJ Sim thingy. And so like, what do I want to say? What I want to say is that let me do this. Hang on a second. Hang on one second.